Alright, so it's something you hear a lot. Voting for a third party is a wasted vote, and it becomes a bit tedious to see this line being used ad nauseum. Now, first off, I'm not here to cheerlead for Jo Jorgensen. It's not that I don't like her, but there's a lot of things I would do differently than she has done, especially in the way I'd run my campaign and who I would choose to do outreach to. Frankly, it seems like she tries to do outreach to a lot of far leftists who may resonate with her messages on racism, which is great, but once the conversation turns to economics, they're parting ways with you very, very quickly. So I fear that that's a waste of time. But anyway, why is it not a wasted vote to vote for a Libertarian candidate who doesn't have a real shot at winning? Because let's be honest, Jo Jorgensen is not going to win. It's just not going to happen. Too many people don't even know who she is. Well, the thing that people who say it's a wasted vote need to understand is that whether it's a wasted vote or not is highly dependent on the other candidates who are running. Both candidates, Joe Biden and Trump, seem fairly comfortable with continuing endless, wasteful, costly, and dangerous wars. Trump has said he wants to get out of Afghanistan, but it's been almost 4 years and not much progress has been made there. Trump also has called out the military-industrial complex, which I do give him credit for, but still, when the rubber meets the road, the car hasn't traveled very far. He hasn't been close to good enough on foreign policy in this regard, but no one should kid themselves into thinking Joe Biden would be any better, and with Kamala Harris at his side too, who of course as a prosecutor had a hammer and viewed everything as a nail, that doesn't bode well for sane foreign policy with Biden as president. Not to mention, he was VP while Obama was drone strike king of the world, and Biden never seemed to have a big problem with it. So give me a break on that one. Both candidates seem to be okay with continuing the Federal Reserve, which is responsible for the levels of inequality we see, propping up the stock market, funneling money into Wall Street, printing off money and giving it first to the politically connected so they benefit to a disproportionate degree than those who are less connected and less wealthy. Both Biden and Trump don't have a big problem with this, it seems. Both are fine with continuing the war on drugs, which of course fuels a great deal of the unrest we've been seeing, and it's caused by the clashing of citizens and law enforcement in needless, pointless, costly, and counterproductive interactions between those citizens and police officers. And the root cause of those interactions is, of course, the war on drugs. And Biden and Trump both seem to be okay with that. And they also both seem to be okay with bailouts. Both are fairly comfortable with a national debt that just hit $27 trillion and shows absolutely no signs of slowing down at any point. In fact, with the compromise Trump just made with a $1.8 trillion stimulus package to compromise with the $2.4 trillion package the Democrats wanted, that's a pretty decent illustration on how neither of them take this very seriously. I'll give Trump a little credit here. He did cut a lot of regulations, although most of them are what's considered to be economically insignificant, but it's still a step in the right direction. And Joe Biden is just pathetic on this. I never heard him complain about the 100,000-page Federal Register we had while he was in Congress. I never heard him express whether he feels that this may be a bit excessive or not. So, cut me a break with this guy. Trump has been awful with the tariffs, which has cost U.S. businesses an astronomical amount of money. Biden says he would get rid of the tariffs, but who are we kidding? He only doesn't like them because Trump implemented them. So there's no real philosophical or economic foundation as to why he would get rid of them, which makes me hesitant to believe that he actually would. We could do significantly better than either of these two. So the point is that people who say a vote for a third party is a waste, they don't even say that as if there is a substantial difference between the two mainstream candidates. In fact, they will often explicitly state that this is simply about voting for the lesser of two evils, which means they think Joe Biden is in this area of evil right alongside Trump. So my comment on that, then, is great. Nothing will change then. We're just stagnant. That's what you're advocating for. All of the issues I mentioned before, we can expect no real change on any of them, so don't pretend as if there is this hasty motivation for Joe Biden to be elected because it will right all these wrongs that Trump caused. Because really, Biden was in Congress and supported most of these ill-conceived policies to begin with. So unless you're going to make the argument that Joe Biden is actually a decent, positive candidate that we will all benefit from to a substantial degree by having him in office, unless you're going to do that, then the assertion that a vote for a third party is wasted falls flat on its face. Because if you're going to say it's a wasted vote, and then you follow that up by simply saying that Joe Biden just isn't as bad as Trump, when that is wildly debatable anyway, then to the people who are sick of the two-party system, when they hear you say that, they just hear you saying that you want nothing to substantially change, and dare I say it, that isn't even close to being good enough, especially when considering, as I said, that Joe Biden being better than Trump is laughable anyway. There are differences between them for sure, but they still do and have done nothing to address the underlying problems that government has created. Now, is it a waste to vote for Jorgensen because she isn't going to win? I would say no, it isn't, because I agree her shot at winning is almost non-existent, but it's not about winning, and it's barely about her even. To me, it's only about sending a message with a hopefully ever-increasing number of people voting Libertarian. That message, of course, is that the liberty movement is growing, and that libertarianism isn't going anywhere, and especially to Republicans, actually, in Congress, who give lip service to small government and free markets, yet they vote in the opposite direction, sending a message to them that there's a good number of former Republicans who see what you're doing, and they're jumping ship. To me, it's all about momentum and getting more and more on the map. But that is all for now. Like and subscribe, and take it easy.